Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rev It Up podcast, Under the Helmets, episode 7 now. And what an honor we have here, having a 2025 Fall Jamboree champion, a 2025 Northern Light Mod champion, and this season is currently having 21 events, 2 wins, 15 top 5s, 19 top 10s, currently leading the USMTS national points, and is the winningest driver in Deer Creek history, and a multi-time track champion at Deer Creek as well as MTS, and that driver drives the 50 to the 3rd out of Hayfield, Minnesota, Brandon Davis. Long ways out from now, folks, but put on your calendar, September 6th, the Tri-State Late Models will invade the Cresco Speedway along with the USRA Modifieds Racing for $1,000 to win. That's all at the Cresco Speedway, and racing along with them are other USRA classes racing for national points. That's all at the fastest track in Northeast Iowa. See you at the races. Are you looking for speed on the track? Well, I have a solution for you. And that solution is Ragex. Get a hold of Harley Dice or Jake Tim today. They make B mods and A mods. And the best thing about Ragex is they don't just give you your car and send you off. They give you technical support with everything you need, and they're racers too. They'll help you throughout the season. So find your speed with Ragex chassis. You can find them at Ragex on Facebook. Let's get into Rev It Up. Now, Brandon, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast here.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So you're running the USMTS this year for the first time, full time. You picked up quite a few wins over your career in the USMTS, but what's it like going out and running the USMTS full time this year, traveling the countryside?
It's actually been pretty enjoyable. If I could somehow use a magical button and skip the driving aspect of getting to the track, that would be sweet. Once we're at the tracks and set up and stuff, it's been pretty enjoyable. It's been pretty fun. It's been neat just going to different tracks and getting to experience them. I was really excited about going to Tri-State, and that place delivered and was exactly what I was hoping it was going to be, and then some. So it's been fun going and experiencing new places and not just kind of doing the same thing that we've always kind of done, if that makes sense.
So traveling the countryside, you see a lot of different dirt. How do you set up for the different kinds of dirt that you see?
Well, I kind of feel like if a guy has a decent balance on a setup and you kind of have a good thumb on it, you don't have to change a bunch going to these different dirts, but it's mainly how you drive them. I mean, Tri-State, for example, compared to what we're used to up here is it's like 70 or 80% clay content. So it just has a whole different behavior to it, different feel. Some of these tracks, like we went to Mississippi, and those tracks are really sandy, especially the Mitchell's Motorplex track. It was, I don't know what the content would be if you ever had it, sent it up and had to analyze, but it was like, it seemed like 80% or greater sand. So, I mean, it was kind of nuts that we raced on that. But it's been pretty cool. We actually just got done doing a 5-day swing where we went kind of to the western Minnesota, eastern South Dakota area, and then transferred over to the central Minnesota area. And the tracks in central Minnesota, I mean, I went to Princeton and Ogilvie a long time ago, back in like 2010. I really didn't remember much of it, but I was surprised. They actually had some pretty good clay on their dirt, and it raced really well. It was pretty enjoyable. So yeah, that's the cool part, is going and experiencing these different soils and just seeing how tires behave on it. And it's kind of cool too when the car works still pretty normal, kind of how you're used to going on those surfaces. So that's pretty neat.
So you picked up 2 wins this past week. What's it like picking up your first wins on tour this year, full on tour?
It felt really, really good. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't hoping we'd have one sooner. But I mean, I felt like I had quite a few nights where I had a car to win a feature, just things didn't work out. So that was pretty exciting, especially getting the one in Ogilvie. I don't know why that one just seems so elusive. It just seems like a hard track to win at. The Minnesota guys are really fast there. And last time I was at Ogilvie, I sucked high and titty, so I was kind of nervous about going there. And I was really pumped to get that one. That felt good. Then to back it up the next night when again was really cool too. It was about as good of a weekend as we could have asked for, minus the DNF from a little connector, but it was a hell of a weekend.
So let's take it back a little bit now to where you started your career. What did the legend Brandon Davis start his career driving?
So I started out in go karts. My parents had bought a go kart used off of somebody, and at that time, my dad was racing at Arlington, Minnesota. So they had a little go kart track in the infield, and I started doing that, and it just kind of spiraled into racing karts around home. I had a buddy whose parents built a go kart track in their backyard because we got sick of racing under stupid regulations and sanctions from some of these other go kart bodies and whatnot. So, uh, yeah, we actually grew up racing go karts in people's backyards and made up our own rules. It was actually really cool, kind of unheard of. But then when I was about 14, my parents brought a B mod home, and the next year I was racing that thing. And I left the B mods after my 2010 season, so 2011 would have been my first year in the modifieds.
So you had a lot of success over the years at a lot of different tracks. What would you contribute that to?
My obsession with these cars and just setup stuff. I've had a weird obsession with it ever since I was probably 10 to 12 years old. I'm used to draw side profiles of chassis, and I don't know if you're familiar with them, but there's these, they're kind of like Legos, but they're called Connects. Little like pieces kids can play with and build things out of it. Well, I built race cars with active suspension, 4 leg suspension. I'd take the notebook spirals from my mom's notebooks and I'd cut those down and make those into springs for the shocks that I kind of conjured up and stuff. So, I mean, I've always been really interested in the rear suspensions. There's a few cars in our area around that time period that were quite a bit faster than the rest of them. And I just kind of picked up on the fact that the cars moved a lot more than the other ones. And it's like, well, there's got to be a reason they're so much faster than the cars that don't move. And I don't know, I just kind of had a little bit of a liking to how these cars worked and how I guess they made speed. And it's just kind of snowballed, I guess.
Would you say that that's where Tri-Built came from?
Well, I mean, it was always, I guess, kind of a dream to build a chassis. I kind of got, I wouldn't say forced into it, but kind of like pressured to get, try my hand at it essentially. And yeah, it just kind of, it was hard too from the beginning because I didn't want to be one of those guys that just copy someone's stuff and then you change a couple bars and whatever and call it your own. I think that's kind of a chicken shit way of building a frame, to be totally honest. So when I built my first one, I built it with Dan Wheeler, and he helped me a little bit. He had a jig there. Pretty much all we used off of his stuff to get started was just his frame rail spread, and just kind of winged it from there. And we had decent success with it, but it was one of the worst cars I'd ever driven. It just didn't fit me very well, and I scrapped it and started over with my own design from the ground up. Pretty much the only thing I saved from the first car was the left side frame rail location and the J bar spot. So to the people that are listening, they might have an idea what that is. But yeah, my cars are pretty much one of a kind, and it just gotten even more, I guess, weird, if you want to call it that, as I moved along, which I kind of take pride in. I don't really want my stuff to look like anybody else's stuff, who would? So it's been enjoyable though. It's really cool. I wish there was a way I could do these. I wouldn't even say full time, just enough of them to have some other people enjoy them and be able to experience them. I mean, I've done some in the past. I think I've built 6 or 7, but I feel like where I'm at now, I have a really good piece that I could kind of give to other people to use, and so yeah, it's pretty fun.
Do you ever think about, doing race car chassis business full time?
Oh, I certainly have. I've considered it quite a bit. Just don't know if I if I want to go down that path yet or not. I've thought about it. It's such an undertaking to get going, and it's a big risk, and everything's on you at that point in time. And I just don't know if I want that kind of pressure with it, because building them is enjoyable. Seeing people running them and do good is enjoyable. I just don't know if I want to do it full time or not. I'm still wrestling with that idea.
So did you run in the B mods your own stuff, or what did you have back in the day?
Yeah, no, I didn't get my own cars until 2016 or so. Yeah, I started out B mods in an action chassis that Mike Sorensen built, and then sponsor of mine was kind of hooked up with Corey Drips, and Corey was building himself a new car. So I got to use his previous year's car, and we had a lot of success with that one. That was the car that we ran the crate motor in and made everybody not happy. And after that car there, we got that thing in 12. And in 2013, we had GRT, and we had that for 2 seasons. And we had an MB Custom for a short stint. And then after that is when I kind of got into my own cars, and I've been in them ever since.
Going back to the crate motor story, you want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, so we wanted to go up to the modified class, and we didn't have a ton of extra money, and the CT525 option seemed fitting for our budget, and we actually got an engine from CJ Rayburn. Went over there and he installed it for us for a price, and it was a pretty good deal. So yeah, my first and second year racing mods, we had a crate motor in, but my second year in modifieds, we went on a run where we won a lot of races. We won a USMTS race at Deer Creek, and then we went to Casson the next night, won that USMTS race, won another USMTS race at Lansing. I think we won like 3 or 4 USMTS races that year, and the tech guy was not happy about that, and neither were the competitors. So they assumed there had been something going on, and they kept changing rules on us and trying this and trying that, and bolting weight in the thing and messing with us. And finally, Greg Jensen was kind enough to borrow us one of his spec engines to run, and we put that thing in. And it took me a little bit to get the hang of it, but once it got that thing figured out, it was just as fast, if not faster, than the crate engine. So that was kind of the turning point where we left the crate engines. And then I met Kevin Stoa, and we've had a really good relationship ever since. And I've been running some Kevin Stoa's engines from then on.
The green motor, that's probably one of the most iconic motors in the area. Bright neon green. Where did that idea come from to run a green motor?
Well, Tanner Mullins was actually the first guy to paint his oil pan pink or whatever, and I was like, that's pretty cool. And at the time, my oil pan was kind of ratty looking, so we had it sandblasted up and powder coated and cleaned it all up and threw some stickers on it and stuff. So that's kind of where the idea came from. Is actually Tanner was the one that did it.
So let's go back to the 2019 Fall Jamboree now against Jacob Blees. Take us back to what the emotions were like on that night in 2019.
Oh, you're talking about the night where I lost by about 3 to 4 feet. Yeah, that one kind of stung a little bit because we've been trying for a long, long time to get a Jamboree win, and that race there, I was pretty much playing catch up the whole time. And I know now why I struggled like I did back then, but yeah, no, that year we were really, really fast at Deer Creek. I think that was the year we won 7 in a row there. And yeah, just caught Jacob late. Unfortunately, a lap too late. And yeah, came to the line, and I'm like, well, maybe I got it, maybe I got it. And he drove by me, and yeah, it was about 3 or 4 feet. He beat me that night.
There's
Still a good payday, but yeah, it was a bummer.
There's one of the heartbreaks in the Jamboree. You had a lot of heartbreaks in the Jamboree. It seemed like you could win everything else at the Deer Creek Speedway, but not the Jamboree until just this last year when you got the Jamboree done, but not by a wide margin for sure over Reese Solander.
Yeah, that was kind of the downfall. Is we've had such success at Deer Creek that it was just kind of a bummer that we could never really get a Jamboree win. We'd won pretty much everything else that you can win at that place other than that. So yeah, last year, I mean, I wasn't sure if I even have a shot to win it at all in the closing laps. I was just kind of happy to be in a top 3 position, decent payday and whatnot. But yeah, about the last lap and a half, Reese caught the lap traffic and slowed him up, and I could tell his car was really struggling in the dirty air. When these cars get behind other cars, they you don't get the downforce from the wind, and they free up a lot. You lose a lot of grip, and I wasn't losing as much grip as Reese was, and I definitely used that to my advantage. that was by far the coolest win of my career. I mean, it's the biggest race that I've always wanted to win, and then to do it in a last lap fashion like that was pretty damn cool.
Well, sitting up in the grandstands, you should have seen the crowd just come off their feet when you made that pass. But did that have any implications on you running the USMTS full time this year?
Um, I think it has a lot to do with it. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about doing it quite a bit. one of my best friends, Blake, he was just pestering me all winter long about doing it. Every time I'd have well, we don't have this, or we don't have that, or I'd bring up little, roadblocks. He'd have a snappy comeback to figure out a way around whatever little issue I could think of. So between that, I had a coworker call me a sissy for not doing it. I decided, you know what, screw it. If we can try and make it work, let's do it. And reached out to some sponsors, and I got some more help, a lot more than I'm used to, which is awesome, and kind of got me to a decent spot to start out the year. And yeah, it's been enjoyable. It's been fun. It's a decent group of guys. I will say it's interesting because I mean I've raced with the USMTS a bunch of times for a lot of years, and something as simple as like our four wide salute with that Lee Greenwood song that everybody's heard thousands of times now. It's always been kind of a cool moment. But now that I'm like part of the USMTS, part of the guys, if you will, it has a whole new meaning now for me. You go back and watch the streams over and see that whatever. It kind of hits home a little bit more than it ever used to.
Now, like you would go back to the USMTS, the points battle, with it being close with you and Mullins and Chisholm, and what's it like? Is it nerve wracking when you go to the race? Do you think about points, or do you just throw points out of the rearview mirror and they'll fall how they fall?
Well, I mean, now that we're in this position, I mean, we've kind of been there all season in top three, whatever, hovering around, floating around. You don't really worry about it. It's not a big deal. I mean, as long as you just go to the track and you try to be as prepared as you can be, and stuff like that. I mean, you just do your best, and the points will come. You just can't get too emotional about it and let it just totally, I guess, drive your thinking process. I mean, like Thursday we had that connector break, kind of a freak deal. Nothing came loose. It's just the connector broke. I wasn't mad at all. It's like, well, hell, I never would have caught that in a million years. Snooping around the car, because this car's fifth season, and this connector braking is actually something that I was worried about this winter. I was thinking about all sorts of things that could go wrong. And so I went through and I went around all the connectors by hand and grabbed them, wiggled them around, make sure no wires are loose, things like that, and didn't find it. So at one point in time, about 4 months ago, I was looking for that same very issue, but didn't find it. Right. So I tried, failed, can't get mad at it. You just got to move on and go to the next night or whatever. And yeah, you just can't get too emotional about it. Let this totally, I guess, drive your way of thinking. So just go there and do what you normally do, and all will be well.
You had some, you could say, kind of a pre-game, you could say, for the USMTS with the Northern Lights last year, giving you some practice for it with winning the Northern Lights last year. That's really the first tour you could say that's been up in our area, other than those little summer series that they tried a couple years ago. How was the Northern Lights, you would say, that Trey Berry put on last year?
I thought it was good. It was fun. We got to go to some tracks that we normally don't get to go to. The pay was decent. I like the format. Starting straight up, that's kind of nice. You kind of get rewarded for being fast. It's just not luck driven. So yeah, it was fun. It was enjoyable. I kind of feel bad this year. I kind of told myself and everybody in my camp, if we're going to do the tour, we're going to do the tour only. We're not going to race a bunch of extra races unless we feel like we have to go do some testing or that type of thing. So I haven't been supporting them this year, simply because I mean I have one car and I have one engine. So I mean we have to go the distance, and especially in the position we are now, where we have the potential to do something kind of cool this season. Just don't want, I guess, wear out our equipment any more than we have to.
What would you say has been the most rewarding race of your career so far, other than one at Deer Creek?
So other than that win at Deer Creek, I'm not gonna lie, that win at Ogilvie was pretty cool. Just because I've seen so many Wasota guys be so fast there and shock the living snot out of the USMTS guys and beat them so many times. And I started up front with, Landon Atkinson's no slouch up there. Jody Belfi has proven himself year after year up there. I mean, Shane Sabraski, he's kind of over 1,000 wins. I mean, Shane's has just been incredible his whole career. There's a lot of them up there that are pretty damn sporty, and to go in their backyard, I guess, and then get it done, it was pretty rewarding. That was pretty cool. So that one felt good. That one felt really good.
Now,
course, top that night at Deer Creek, but that one there was pretty cool.
Now that's something that a lot of people say about you at Deer Creek. The car you're gonna have to worry about tonight's the 50 to the third. But the 50 to the third, that's kind of an interesting number. Where did that number come from? The 50 to the third.
So when I got that go kart, I remember the number on it was like 98 or something, and my parents were like, "What number you want to be? You want to be 50?" I'm like, "Nah, 98's fine." And eventually, I'm like, "Okay, I'll be 50." But once I got out of the go karts and the B mod, I remember seeing Al and Mike Hana, and they always had like their cars were like opposites. One would be like mainly black with white lettering. The other one would be white with black lettering. They're opposite, and they'd be same number. Besides, one was seven. I think it was a seven, and then I think it was maybe Mike was like seven Roman numeral two. And I thought that was kind of cool. So I was a third driver in my family, so I decided to do the Roman numeral three to be in the third generation driver.
Talk about your dad and your grandfather. They were no slouches around southeast Minnesota as well.
Yeah, my grandpa had a decent career. He got kind of cut short with kids and stuff, but he definitely won his fair share of races and had fun. And yeah, my dad, same thing. I mean, for the equipment and stuff that he had and the low budget, he made do with what he had and always ran pretty well. And I think he kind of gave up some there towards the end of his career because I was racing go karts. So I mean, you're splitting funds for the go kart and time and all that stuff. And that was kind of also about the same time frame that like the suspension stuff and the modifieds was really turning a new page. And it seemed like the guys that were, turning that page and digging into it really, really fast. And the guys that weren't were finding out in a hurry that you better be trying some new stuff and venturing out and doing what's new because, yeah, it only took like 2 or 3 years. And man, the modifieds really changed. It was nuts.
Talk about the change in the modifieds with the suspension and everything. What was the money difference in the modifieds from back then to now?
Well, I mean, guys overbuilt the chassis for one a long time ago, and they're really heavy, really rigid, and guys were starting to lighten them up. I would say three links and then like your swing arm cars and your Z-Link cars are really popular in the early 2000s, and but at the same time, you're seeing like a 50-50 mix of guys who are trying out the four-link suspension in the left rears, something the late models have been doing for probably 5 to 7 years at that point. By then, at that point in time. And that was when the modifieds really started picking up some speed. But the shocks were way behind. I mean, guys didn't know what the heck to run for spring rates like we do now. So the cars were really inconsistent. They'd slam down. They looked hard to drive and whatnot. But yeah, the four-link suspension and the cars becoming more flexible and a little bit lighter, I think, was really the turning point. And then once the shock game started coming in and Integra came on the scene and guys really started playing with those, everything kind of got put together in the mid to, I would say, 2008 to 2010 time period. And that was the modifieds really took off. And I feel like we've gotten faster since then, but it's been like little bits and pieces. I think a lot of that's mainly because the teching and the rules, they've really kind of I'm not going to say they put us in a box necessarily, but they definitely put some boundaries, and it's kind of slowed us up with the speed gains that we've come with, and the evolution of these cars has really been brought down a little bit, so it's not so out of control. Because now I feel like a lot of us are smart enough, and there's stuff that gets leaked down from the late model world where if we didn't have those boundaries, man, shit could be really, really wild and crazy, and not necessarily making it more expensive, but these cars as they are complicated enough, and I think it kind of scares a lot of people away from racing them. So it's probably good that we have the boundaries that we do because, yeah, us drivers are kind of our worst enemy when it comes to complicating things.
So pushing the gray area in the tech zone, how much do modified drivers, not specifically you, but a lot of modified drivers, push Darlow in the tech zone?
Well, the guys pushed Darlow right out of the gate, and then they found out the hard way that when you push Darlow, he digs his heels in the ground, and then you get the big fat DQ at the end of the night, and then you go home mad. Um, I guess my philosophy is we have the rule book, and Darlow, as I said, he has boundaries, and you just go right up to that boundary as close as you can without going over it. And that's kind of that's been my philosophy. quite a few years. I'm really not a fan of people that blatantly cheat. I think it's not only is it unfair, I think it's unsportsmanlike, and that's like having a buddy of yours go catch a deer or something like that, tie it up to a tree so you can shoot it. It's just like, why? So I just go to the boundaries best I can. There's not a bunch of gray areas anymore like there used to be where you get, oh, I can do this because it's not in the rules. Because if you've somehow managed to find a gray area like that, something that's not laid out in the rule book and isn't specified, what's going to happen is eventually Darlow will see it, and one of a few things is going to happen. He's going to see it and he's going to ask you about it. And if you try to lie to him, I think he's pretty good at telling if you're lying or telling the truth. And if you lie to him and he figures out you're lying to him, it's going to be a rough road for you for a while because he's not going to trust you. And then whenever you are wrong, he's going to really drop the hammer on you. If you're truthful and you tell him exactly what's going on, explain it to him. Like there's been times where he's asked me about things and he's asked me like what I'm doing with it. So he wants to understand the inner workings of it mechanically. What is this doing to your car? Why is it on there? And if you explain something to him, you're truthful and he understands it, now he gets to decide to let you do it or not let you do it. It's one of those things. So it kind of falls back to his discretion. So there's not too many gray areas though anymore. I mean, everything's pretty much laid out. It's very rare that Darlow has to make a decision on a rule that isn't necessarily written out. A lot of guys like to say, well, it's not in the rule book, I can do it. Well, if Darlow sees something and it's not in the rule book and he knows it's a big performance advantage, he's probably going to tell you to take it off the car. It's usually how it goes. So yeah, you just play within the rule book best you can, take everything right to that limit without going over, and just try and do your best from there on. A lot of the speed in this game in the modifier world is through setup and getting a nice balance and getting things to work properly. It isn't like you can just bolt one fancy illegal piece in your car and all of a sudden have the fastest modified in the country. Like you still have to have your poop in a group. So yeah, that's kind of where I guess take my pride in my stuff is, yeah, I'm not one of those guys that likes to bend the rules and try to get away with stuff. I'm not that guy that plays a smoke and mirrors game. Like I'm going to do some crazy stuff over here to distract Darlow, and then I'm going to do something over here. I never have been one of those guys. So the problem is like once you start playing that game and you get caught, everything you've done up until that point starts to get discredited. And I don't want to be one of those guys.
So, being the all-time winningest driver at Deer Creek Speedway, what goes into being the all-time winningest driver, and what does it mean after all the greats that have been at racing at Deer Creek Speedway since it opened, and what's it mean to almost be probably, if not the greatest, one of the greatest to ever do it at Deer Creek Speedway, if not around the southeast Minnesota, northeast Iowa area?
It's pretty cool. I mean, I kind of have a little bit of a unique driving style. I drive fairly straight and square. Yet I require and want a bunch of traction at the same time. So it's kind of a unique thing. But it's definitely cool. I remember, I don't know how many years ago it was, but finding out I was within like 20 wins or so of tying Mike Sorensen. I think Mike was like second to Jeff Brower or something like that in overall wins. So I'm like, oh, it'd be cool to maybe someday catch Mike and stuff. So yeah, it's been awesome. I mean, that track's been so good to me over the years. It fits me. It fits me really good. Like I think that track has honestly kind of molded my driving style because when I first started racing, I mean, that was the toughest track to win at. That track had the most cars. It was for me the most challenging. It was by far the hardest track to win at. And it's kind of once you figure out what speed is at that place and you feel it, you never really forget what that's like, and you're always looking for it. A lot of young drivers kind of struggle with that. They'll get into a car and they really don't know what fast is, and then they just they'll change stuff, and one night they'll get faster and like, ooh, okay, that feels good, and they remember that feeling of speed and they get faster yet, and it's just one of those things. So that track's over the years. I'm pretty proud to have the win count that I do, and I feel like I've gotten enough of the wins. I feel like I can take time away from Deer Creek now and go have fun elsewhere, and I think that win total should be safe for some time. I'm hoping. So yeah, if someone's able to come through and beat my win total, I mean, good for them. I've raced there a lot of years and been pretty dang loyal to that track, so it's taken a long time.
Do you have a lot of younger drivers that come up to you and ask for advice when you're at Deer Creek now or on the tour now? Some people ask for advice.
Oh yeah, I mean, I got all sorts of people that like to come and ask for advice, and I like helping people out. So I got a soft spot for it. I've been getting better about, I guess, not telling everybody everything, if that makes sense, and giving guys, I guess, bits and pieces, get them pointed in the right direction, but not give them the whole, I guess, playbook, if that makes sense. So no, I definitely do like helping people out, and there's certain drivers around here that I guess you have more of a soft spot for, just because I grew up around them, like the Hale brothers, Parker and Jackson Hale. Great boys. The family's awesome. Troy and his wife. I mean, they raised those two boys right. And one night I saw Jackson's car was just not good at all, and it's kind of funny because I went to his trailer to find him, and I couldn't find him. He was nowhere to be found. So I'm driving back to my trailer, and there's Jackson. Well, Jackson went to my trailer looking for me, and I gave him I just quick valved up a shock in my trailer for him and gave him some pointers, and by God, the next night he won. That was cool. I mean, he was all choked up and stuff. It'd been a while since he got to victory lane, and like the moments like that make you feel good. And I like doing that for people and trying to help them out a little bit. Because there's a lot of people in the racing world. I feel like they're pretty good drivers, and I think they also have enough of equipment. But in their mind, they're not a good enough driver, and they don't have the equipment. Well, it's more like you just gotta, I guess, work with the equipment you have, and get it a little bit better and trying to figure it out. Because a lot of times these cars, even the older ones, are quote unquote wore out. They still have speed in them. You just got to find it. So I take pride in that.
What's your stance on people saying that local racing is dying?
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like it is dying out a little bit. Um, why? I mean, I think a lot of us are wondering why. I'm really not sure. A lot of factors in it, obviously, but yeah, it is kind of, I guess, depressing going to the track and remembering what it used to look like for crowds on a weekly basis and seeing how much smaller they are. It definitely kind of stinks. It's not as fun. I feel like COVID really knocked us down a couple notches. It seemed like once COVID was done, the crowds are a lot smaller. I think people discovered things they like doing at home and found other means, I guess, of entertainment, maybe. But it's definitely a bummer.
Who was your favorite driver growing up in the grandstands when you would watch going to the races or in the pits with your dad at a really young age?
I mean, I guess I was always obviously rooting for my dad. But as far as like drivers that I really liked in the dirt racing world, Bloomquist always kind of fascinated me. Just his image and his cars and everything about it was pretty cool. Um, as far as the modify guys, I really didn't have like a modify guy that I really like looked up to necessarily, because of course wanted my dad to beat all of them, one of those deals. But no, I was a big fan of Scott Bloomquist, and then when I was a young kid, watching like NASCAR. I used to love Ward Burton just because he had the Caterpillar car. I was all about playing with Caterpillar equipment as a kid, little toys and stuff. But no, I was a big fan of Dale Jr. I always loved Dale Jr. To this day, I still love Dale Jr. I love listening to his podcasts and stuff. And yeah, like even in the off seasons when I'm doing body work on my cars, sometimes I like to just go on YouTube and pull up an old NASCAR race and just have it in the background, because I remember as a kid, like the Daytona 500 time period was like you're like right in the heart of putting the car together for race season. So like that was just kind of that NASCAR races and work on the car around that time period in the off season kind of go together for me. So yeah, no, I used to like Dale Jr. and Scott Bloomquist.
What would you say to the kids or fans, anybody of age in the stands that idolized you growing up that have watched you for 15 years going to the races? Or I know of one guy now, one of my friends that he's probably has a race car now because of you, that he's been going to the races now and he bought a race car and he's driving it now, but he idolized you growing up. What would you say to the kids that idolized you growing up?
Well, if anybody wants to get in this sport, I mean, obviously it's expensive, so just getting into the sport is tough. But if you want to get in the sport and actually be successful and not feel defeated all the time, man, you got to put your head to the grindstone and figure out these cars. There's plenty of really good reading material out there to figure these things out. At least get a baseline understanding of what's going on. And you have to learn the cars. I see so many drivers that are good drivers that just don't get the results they deserve just because they don't understand the cars well enough. And so yeah, if anybody's gonna get in the sport, man, you got to figure the cars out. That's the hardest part for sure.
How important is family in the sport of racing?
Oh, it's very important because if you have issues at home and the family isn't on board with what you're doing, it makes it really difficult. It makes it difficult to prepare the car, work on the thing. Everything is tougher. So when the family's on board with it and you can balance out racing and family stuff, well, the whole thing gets better. I will say, like doing this tour this year at the USMTS has been challenging because like last weekend we had a 5 day swing. It's challenging, but we also have some breaks. Breaks we're not used to. We're not used to having a break until at the end of August. We'll get like a maybe 2 3 weeks off for the jamboree or something like that. Otherwise, it's race, 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 race every weekend. So running with the USMTS has been nice because it does give us a week, sometimes 2 weeks off in between when we race, and you can, I guess, do stuff with the family, go do this, that, whatever else, and kind of balance that out. So you don't just have your significant other feel like you're doing nothing but racing. Like don't get me wrong, we all love the racing aspect of it, but it is nice to have a break from it too. So that's kind of nice. So yeah, the family side of it, you got to work on that and try and balance it out because if the family's not on board with it, it's never going to work out very well.
What would you say your favorite track has been that you have traveled to?
Oh, this season, I tell you, Princeton really surprised me this past weekend. Um, I was there in 2010, but it was such a long time ago. I really don't remember it all that well. So Princeton raced really, really good, a lot better than I thought it would, and that was really surprising. I was at Granite City 2 years ago, and it was pretty good. Left a little bit to be desired when we left there. Went back there again, and I'll be honest, I wasn't exactly looking forward to going there, but it turned out to be probably the funnest, if not, yeah, it was one of the. It's really close between that one and Princeton, but it was probably the funnest track of the weekend. Honestly, I mean, the heat races were nice and slick and slippery. So you kind of it was technical and you had to be slow and patient and methodical to get through your heat races. And then the track was really clean for the feature and there was racing all over the thing. And it was pretty treacherous. That place there has a chain link fence right up with the wall. So if you barely touch the wall, you lose your spoiler and all that fun stuff gets tore off the back. So you're trying to run up against the wall where it's fast without tearing your stuff off, and really messing up the body if you can help it. So it's technical and challenging as a driver and really got to focus. So I really had fun there. So,
I wasn't really gonna ask this, but how important are aerodynamics in modifieds? They talk about it a lot in late models. How important is it in modifieds? If the cars come up in front of you, taking away the air.
oh, it's huge. Yeah, I mean, if you could ride with me and make like 4 laps, and then all of a sudden 1 lap you just have someone get in front of the car, coming in the corner, you'd be amazed at what the difference is. It's almost like making a corner in the wintertime and the first half of the corner is dry pavement, then all of a sudden you come across the pavement and it's ice now. It's not quite that slippery, but you lose probably up to half of the grip you're used to once a car gets in front of you, especially at a fast racetrack. So as a driver, you really got to be mindful of that. And I think about it all the time. I never used to, but probably the last 6 7 years, I've really kind of paid attention to just where cars are in front of me, just so I can get air on the car. There's a lot of times I'll take a line in a corner. It's not the fastest line, but I just take it just to get air on the car. It's faster than running behind somebody. So air plays a big factor, huge factor, honestly. It's more so a big deal in the late models because they have so much more, I guess, surface area in their bodies. It affects them a lot more than us modifieds, but it definitely does make a difference.
So a 3 day swing going into this upcoming weekend with Fairmont, Winneshiek, and Mason City. Three tracks that you're used to. With Fairmont, you head out there. You used to head out there a couple times a year. And Mason City, you've been there a couple times a year with a good run earlier this year. How much are you looking forward to heading to some familiar territory?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Fairmont's always a good time. Place is fast as hell, so it's always fun going out there for hot laps and just letting it rip for a while. But I'm looking forward to it. It's been nice racing closer to home. When we went to Mississippi, it was like 16 and a half hours is what the trip was going to be if we drove straight through and didn't stop anywhere. So those trips aren't that much fun. Thankfully, this stuff here is all pretty close to home. So I'm looking forward to it. Sounds like there might be some rain chances on Friday, so hopefully that deal doesn't get rained out on us. But no, it should be a good weekend.
Who are some of the sponsors that make you running the USMTS possible this season on the 50 to the third?
Oh, we got a bunch of them. We had some new guys jump on board this year. If you got the time, I could run through them quick.
I've got the time.
Perfect. Well, on the front of the car, we've got Hagen Excavating, Davis Construction. We've got A&A Electric helping us out this year. That's actually where I work. Mike Kramer Drywall. My buddy put together a pretty cool deal, Davis Nation, with a face-to-face trying to help us out and give us a little bit of income to get racing. We have Kratos Athletic Center, Carol's Corn, Horman's HVAC, Nifestyle Trucking, Elite Chiropractic, FK Rodins. Kevco's done a lot for us this year. They give us our spoilers and all of our drive shaft stuff. Matt Arswald Trucking, Atomo's Auto Towing. We have Factory Cane Racing Shocks in the car this year. Factory Cane is doing some prototype stuff for modifieds next season, and I'm one of their test subjects. So we have Factory Cane Shocks on the car this year. B&L Trucking. We have Knutson Automotive Services, Hagerty's Wrapworks, Jeff's Tax Accounting, Schaefer's. They do all of our lubricants for the car, racing oil, our rear end oil, everything. Gordon Farms, KS Engineering. As I said earlier, Kevin Stowe has been awesome to us. Trailer Companies, Ron's Repair, Suide Health and Production. And I got to give a shout out too to Derek Sorensen. He's actually the guy that helped get us this Factory Cane deal with these shocks here in the car this year. There's been a lot of helping hands that have went into us being able to run the tour this year. It's something that myself and a lot of people that have been helping me for many, many years have always tried to make happen, and wondered what would happen if we did do it. So I guess this is the year we're going to find out.
What would it mean to win the USMTS in your first year doing it?
It would mean a lot because, it's a tough deal. You're going to all these different places. It's not easy. In the past, I've been so used to just being able to have my stuff dialed in at home. And then whenever the USMTS showed up, I felt like I was primed, ready to go. The guns are loaded. You're ready to rock and roll. Where now we go to some of these places and I go out there for hot laps. And before I hot lap, I guess eye up the track and I make my, educated guess on what I need to do. And you get 2 laps and hot laps to get a feel for what you got going on and make adjustments quick for time trials. And you pretty much have to unload fast because you don't have much time after hot laps to make a lot of changes. So you kind of have to hit the nail on the head right away. And thankfully this year we've been decent at that. We've had a few times where we haven't been, but for the most part, we've been pretty good. So it would be awesome to do that, especially in one of my cars. And this car here is no spring chicken. We found some cracks in it. We just keep welding it up and keep slapping it on the back bumper and sending it out the door. So she's been doing good for us yet.
What year did you build that car?
This car was built in the winter of 21 and 22.
So it's not a spring chicken, as you say, when a lot of the guys you're racing probably have almost new cars.
Yeah, most everybody else keeps a lot fresher frames underneath of them. In fact, this car here, its first night out was at Mississippi Thunder, and I rolled it. So that's how this car's life got started. But it's been a pretty good piece for me. I think I probably built it a little bit too rigid, which is probably why it's still lasting as long as it has been. But no, it's been a good piece for me. It's been fun.
If any 50 to the third fans would like any of your apparel, where can they find that at?
Yeah, so Tanner Mullins and Denise Mullins own the Victory Vault trailer, and they have a website. And they sell our apparel on the website. Whatever is left over, if they have enough of it, they'll sell it on the website. If you can't find it on the website, that's because we're getting a little bit low. All the remaining stock is for the trailer at the track. So if you go and watch us at a track, the USMTS, find the Victory Vault trailer and you can find our apparel. We have stuff for adults and children. So,
well, thank you, Brandon, for your time. It's honestly a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
hey, no, thanks for having me on. It was fun.
That's it for this episode of Rev It Up Under the Helmet. Make sure you tune in to Rev It Up. Next, we'll catch you next time. You have listened to Rev It Up. To keep more up to date with Rev It Up, like, subscribe, and head over to Facebook and follow Rev It Up Podcast. You've been listening to an edition of Rev It Up.